Well, the difference to Wikipedia is, first of all, we're database, and Wikipedia is more text, so that's the biggest difference. And what we developed over 20 years already is that we made those connections between all the data. So you have the player data, you have the match reports, you have the club data, and out of that we created over the years an incredible amount already of statistics. Sometimes we don't even find all the statistics ourselves because there's so much, and that's, I guess, the biggest difference, that we always made these relations and managed to create cool statistics and cool facts out of all the data we gathered. Whereas Wikipedia is basically collecting text information rather in an encyclopedia style.
The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
Hola, very warm welcome to the VAR Show, the show which talks about all of the major football leagues in detail. Today we are going to continue the theme of interviews, and we have the managing director of TransferMarkt, Mr. Thomas Lintz, with us. So without wasting much time, I would like to first thank Thomas for coming on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you and what are you doing these days?
We're pretty fine because whole TransferMarkt is right now concentrated very much on the prolonged transfer window we have here in Europe. So we had the deadline day 2 weeks ago on August 31st, but this year it's going to be October 5th. So we are pretty much into covering transfers, updating the database, updating the squads, etc., and looking forward to the last day of the transfer window, which is normally big fun here, and everybody's really concentrated and going for it.
Of course, and you are very well known all over, but could you explain what is the main ideology behind TransferMarkt?
Well, the main idea is being a football platform made by fans, made for fans. So there's a kind of Wikipedia approach we're going for. We try, actually we think we are the biggest publicly available football database right now at the moment, and we're still growing and growing. So that the heart of TransferMarkt actually is the database, and the database is sourced by users. So you could just log in, and maybe you find some club, some player where you think, oh, there's some data missing, there's something wrong. You could just enter a correction. Somebody will be checking on that, and then we take it from there. That's the basic idea. And then what we are doing is adding some editorial content to it. So we got the rather big editorial stuff here in Germany, and we were growing to different European and overseas markets already, where we also have editors, and they're where we present in the TransferMarkt kind of way, with facts and figures and covering transfers, what we have in the database already. Plus, what we feel is for having such an amount of users that are contributing to the database, there has to be some kind of community, some exchange, and there's also a lot of that on the data on the platform itself, especially in German-speaking markets, where there's a huge audience discussing rumors, discussing the next match day, discussing what is the coach doing, everything you need to discuss about football.
Of course, and you mentioned how you are similar to Wikipedia. I wanted to ask you why have generally as a layman, you do much more than just have information over there. So why would anyone go to your TransferMarkt instead of going to Wikipedia? Because almost you're getting similar information. What is the difference? If you could explain a little bit.
Well, the difference to Wikipedia is, first of all, we're database, and Wikipedia is more text, so that's the biggest difference. And what we developed over 20 years already is that we made those connections between all the data. So you have the player data, you have the match reports, you have the club data, and out of that we created over the years an incredible amount already of statistics. Sometimes we don't even find all the statistics ourselves because there's so much. And that's, I guess, the biggest difference, that we always made these relations and managed to create cool statistics and cool facts out of all the data we gathered. Whereas Wikipedia is basically collecting text information rather in an encyclopedia style.
Of course, and like that's a very different approach. Although it's quite similar, it's very different in terms of data and everything. And it's like, I want to ask you, like, all this is fine. Like, how did the idea come out? Like, do you know the backstory? Like, why and what led to maybe formation of TransferMarkt?
Yeah, sure, I know, because I was one of the first users too. TransferMarkt was founded by Matthias Seidel. He's still one shareholder and he's still one of the 3 managing directors. And he moved from Bremen to Hamburg here in northern Germany in the 90s. And he found that he was lacking information about his favorite club in Bremen, Werder Bremen. And that's why he first of all started creating a website where users could exchange and, giving him the information, or other Bremen fans in Hamburg the information, what local newspapers say about what's happening in the club, because there was nothing like online newspapers or something in those days. That was the very start. And after some time, he found, it would be interesting to have something like a database, because he always keeps us telling he couldn't remember all the player names, so he put them in a list and he updated them. And at one point, he found that more and more users started writing him emails saying, hey, this guy moved to another club, this guy is actually 2 centimeters taller, this one is left-footed and not right-footed, could you please change that? And he spent all his nights with, adding the information from the emails to the list he had on the website. And then at one point he said, okay, why can't I have the users doing that on their own? Because obviously they're all very interested in having correct data on the website. And then from there on it started growing.
And how did it happen to you? Like, how did you get
me personally, I'm Austrian, and I got involved as a user in 2005 when I was studying at university, and every Friday evening I went to a third league local club and was watching the games there. And then I thought, okay, why is this information not on TransferMarkt? And that's exactly how TransferMarkt is working, because I had the opportunity to enter the data, to have the squad list first of all, and then trying to figure out which position the players are playing, because I was seeing them every Friday night, and then adding the match reports, etc. And and after 2 years, our founder Matthias, he had the idea of moving to Austria as his first international market, and he asked one of the guys who were already pretty much into it, and that was me, and that's how I entered the company as an employee.
And you also said like how general public can have the input in terms of players and everything. So can anyone just go and register a player or something?
No, you can enter corrections for everything that is already there, and there is a 4 eyes principle. Somebody else will be checking that. That's normally other users that they have, I don't know, several thousand of corrections. Then they receive the rights to also accept corrections. When it comes to adding players, that's also restricted to users with a higher confidence level, because what we try to avoid is to have too many players added to the database of whom we can't take care of. If we add an 18-year-old today, he's probably gonna be in the database or probably be playing football for 15 years. And you have to follow, somebody has to follow his career and update his profile. And that's why we stick to players that play in leagues that we are covering for the moment.
Of course, and I wanted to ask you, since I'm from Nepal, why don't you have players from Nepal?
Actually, I don't know why there's not so many Nepalese players at the moment, but I think there has not been any user so far who was really so much interested in that. that he found a way to start adding and correcting data in Nepal.
Of course, and I wanted to ask you, you are one of the top players in terms of football, and you are one of the most recognized. So, as an organization, where do you all move forward from here? What are your goals for the future?
Well, our goal is to reach more people worldwide, because we think that for what we are offering to users, being facts driven, being data driven, being a lookup database for everybody, that we think that could be interesting for everybody from Chile to Nepal to Australia, and not only for bigger European countries. And we see that we've been growing internationally quite well in the last years. So today, I guess 2/3 of TransferMarkts users are outside of Germany, which is our home market, and this is our aim to grow internationally. We do perfectly know that we won't be competing in each and every market with the biggest local players. So there is Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy, for example. We won't probably be bigger than them. It's the same in France, where there's L'Equipe, or I don't know, England with the big tabloids. But we think that in every country there is a certain amount of football fans, and within those football fans there's a certain amount of football fans that are more interested in facts, data, transfers, rumors, and not so much in what is player girlfriend doing or things like that. We are not really covering. So, and that's our aim.
So what I meant was I wanted to I have another follow up to that question. Is do you want to stick to this format of data and maybe news related to football, or are you planning to maybe expand into other divisions of football? Maybe something like a statistics model of completely based, like right now you just have this whatever data, everything of it. Maybe predictions, how maybe you have something like Opta. Is it something like that you want to branch out to?
Yeah, sure. Apart from just moving the same thing to other countries, we have a developer team here in Hamburg, and we're developing the product all the time. So there is product increments every 2 weeks, and there's so many ideas we have already, and that's also a cool thing because we have so many users, and they communicate with us, we communicate with them, so we catch a lot of ideas they have, and that's why a lot of things are possible in the future. Yeah.
Of course, and before I move on to the next question, I wanted to say one thing. The transfer market. I don't know who handles. You'll know better. In the Instagram account, English one, it is extremely good. The way he replies back to wittily, to all the comments is extremely good. The interaction with everyone, it's extremely good. Do extend my regards to that person, whoever is doing that.
Yeah, it's a small team. I will definitely do so. We also see that Instagram has been a cool success within the last years, growing very well, because there we found a cool way to connect, football news somehow with our database, and to always play around with that. And that combined with the, I think, good community handling we have there, where we also learned from what we did the past 15 years with our own community and our website. I think that was a cool success. Yeah.
So moving on from that, I'll ask you another thing regarding about your main foundation, everything. You are one of the biggest players in terms of football around the globe. Many of them talk about you and take you as reference. Was it something that the transfer market team always envisioned, because many other similar portals started and did not take off?
Well, what we always envisioned, okay, maybe one vision I have, and I know some of our also voluntary data scouts and employees have, is actually to cover everything in football worldwide. I know that's probably not ever possible, but we're getting near to it, and that's a cool aim. And we always, if we're working back in history when it comes to match reports, for example. So if we finished, for example, the Serie A history in the last 120 years or something, then we always feel really, really cool, and goals like that keep us going forward.
Of course, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I did not find women football in transfer market. Is it something that you want to work on or something?
Yeah, actually, we're not covering women's football on TransferMarkt itself, but we got a sister site. It's called Soccer Donna. It's only available in German at the moment, which is pretty lookalike to TransferMarkt and is covering women's soccer. Um, we did not include it into TransferMarkt because of some technical issues. Because if somebody is looking for Bayern Munich or Wolfsburg, what should we show them first, and things like that make it pretty difficult. So that's why we chose to have our own portal where we can also have the homepage with only women as football news, and don't always have the problem of deciding what to put first.
Of course, and you like I was just curious. Like you said, you have a very small team. How much of you all are working behind the scenes, like to make it work very efficiently?
Yeah, we got 60 employees roundabout. I think around 45 of them are full time. The rest is part time, and those are mainly developers, salespersons, editors for sure, and yeah, but that's only the top of the iceberg. There's so many more, all those volunteers, those data scouts I was talking about. There's hundreds of them. I'd guess at the moment it's around 500 to 600. Those are those users that have more rights, that are really committed to, for example, one league, and then taking care of the corrections, taking care of all the data, answering questions of other users that want to contribute, and things like that. Yeah. So the team out there is far, far bigger than the ones we have in our offices.
Of course, and I'll get to a more wider topic, and people talk of transfer market values of a player, when we're discussing, or even when you're making presentations of maybe scouting, whatever, they take that. So, when did it first start getting momentum, and how do you calculate the transfer fees of a player?
Okay, how we started, that's again a story our founder is always telling. He was playing those manager games on his computer, and there was always some kind of fee or value or whatever. And he found, okay, I could do that for real football out there, and that's how it just started. So that was pretty straightforward, the old days of the internet. When it comes to calculation, it is important to know that there is nothing like a secret algorithm or something. So we have a qualitative approach, using the wisdom of the crowd. So having a lot of users discussing them, having experts discussing it, and then having a first discussion within one market. For example, let's take Bundesliga. Then at one point there's moderators that say, okay, we could think that could be the compromise for the market values this summer, and then we're doing the same for Italy, for England, and for France, and for Turkey, whatever. And then those guys meet, and then they start comparing again. And there's sitting in a video conference or in a room, and start comparing. Okay, let's take a look at all left backs that are younger than 25, for example. Are the relations okay? And then they're doing that, and then they're redoing the whole values if it's necessary. And at one point, for sure, okay, we say this is the update now, and then it's going to be published. And the minute after it's going to be published, the discussions start again, and that's the wheel of the market values. But we think with having so many users and experts involved, we are better than we could cover it with any algorithm.
Of course, and look, I wanted to ask you, how you said, you constantly discuss even as soon as you publish it, and even after then, before that. So some huge transfer, which are maybe groundbreaking, like the one with Neymar. How much did it affect your evaluation of players? Because that changed the whole game. So did you have to restructure everything?
Exactly, that's always difficult for us. If such big things happen, we really need to take a look. Okay, how is it affecting the football transfer market out there for real? Is it just maybe it was overpaid, and nobody else is joining these big sums. But yeah, that always makes us a little bit slow because we're always one step back. Yeah, that's difficult topic. But with Neymar and Mbappé, then we found that it was necessary to go up with the values, especially for young, very talented players. And you see that nowadays that it was right to go up with the values because it's still young, very talented players that are paid a lot for.
Of course, and like one major thing that I've seen is like in everywhere, like many agents ask like ask for and check transfer market values before even like proceeding forward. I just wanted to ask you like in terms of a player's career, it depends a lot on your website and everything, like how you value that person. Like knowingly or unknowingly, you are affecting a lot of players all over the world. How reliable are the informations? Because it can affect a player's career a lot.
You mean which information?
No, I mean like see, suppose if you have on the cream of football, maybe like the top European leagues, you'll get everything correct. But when you go further down the pyramid, maybe to some Indian league or maybe Malaysian league, if you have players registered, how much do you follow up with the information that is available there?
That's always very much dependent on the users that are taking care of that. Sometimes we even see, okay, there has been some user who was really taking care of, I don't know, the data in Iran, for example, and then he got married and got a child and has got no time left for TransferMarkt. And then data quality is going down a little bit. That's part of the game, I would say. But actually, we're taking care on if there's data missing, if there is gaps, and there's also users that have enter corrections. They always are asked to enter some sources for what they are entering, and you should not underestimate the wisdom of the crowd again. So if I could just go to the website right now and I don't know, change Lionel Messi's height to 1.90 m, that wouldn't last for 2 seconds because in the moment there would be somebody else correcting that back to his 170 or what's the truth. Yeah.
So of course, staying with same theme, like suppose you have like you said, Lionel Messi, who's probably most of them know all over the world, even if you do not watch football. So the information is very readily available. But like you said, someone from Iran is updating some player. How do you verify the information? Like of course, you said you put in some source, but
Yeah.
but then do you double check on it? Like, do you have any other way other than just the source?
Basically, it's the source, and most of the times it's more than one. It's pretty straightforward. It's club homepages, it's press releases, it's media reports. Sometimes it's even clubs themselves sending us updated information and saying, "Hey guys, you're wrong there. We just had our photo shooting and had measured everybody again. So this guy grew because he was only 16 last time you entered the data. I don't know. Things like that are happening. There's various sources." But you're right. When it comes to, I don't know, amateur football here in Germany, 6th league, that's teachers and students and post officers working normally and playing football in the afternoon. There's probably then one source only. This is probably the club then.
Okay, this is a very silly question, but I'll ask you, in your transfer market, why is there no E in the market?
Because we're German, it's a German word.
Okay.
So the
like
German word for transfer is Transfer, and the German word for market is Markt.
Okay, so I'll move on from that. And you have so much data available with you. Like from down the time, and of course you have, like you said, like a lot all over the world. So do you have tie-ups with any teams, maybe with the data you possess? Like, do they approach you or something, like clubs?
Yeah, from time to time, sure. As you mentioned before, respected player, I guess, in the transfer and football industry already. And for sure, we're getting contacted with everything from questions. Hey guys, how do you work? How do you calculate your market values? It's obviously a question we hear very often. Sometimes, as I mentioned before, there is clubs giving us more information, saying, "Hey, we didn't include the contract length in the press release, but it's okay. Here you are. It's January 2024." And that's basically the thing. So there's clubs we're having good and quite often contact with, and there's other clubs we don't have contact with. It's all fine for us because in the end, it's as I said before, it's a football portal for fans and by fans, and only in the second step for clubs.
So roughly, how much visitors do you have on your website on an annual basis?
What I can tell you is that in August that just ended, we had worldwide 40 million users.
So is it more during the transfer window?
Yeah, very much more. It nearly doubles. Yeah, with this name here, TransferMarkt, there's the most interest within the transfer window. Yeah.
And of course, you have multiple ways you can access your website and your company. So which one is the most accessed? Like which way? Like social media or website or?
I think it's at the moment it's the mobile website because a big use case for users all around the world is Google. People, typing in a name in a search, and they at one point they know that they find good information when they click on the TransferMarkt link, and then they enter the mobile website. But you mentioned social. We see that Instagram is already producing respectable reach too. Yeah. But.
Of course, and on that note, I'll ask you one final question. And this is more personal. It's not about transfer market. On a personal level, which club do you support?
I'm a fan of Austria Vienna from my hometown, the Violets.
And this is the second last, and you have to choose one of these two. If you had the option to work with, suppose TransferMarkt could choose one of these two, whom would you choose to represent the company? Ronaldo or Messi?
I think Messi, because Ronaldo, he blocked us on Instagram because he wasn't happy with his market value.
Okay, so does that happen a lot? Do they contact you? Players contact you?
Yeah, that does happen. Especially with all the players being on Instagram and us being on Instagram, that got really more in the last years. Yeah.
Of course, and on that note, Thomas, thank you so much for talking to me, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavors with TransferMarkt. Whatever you'll have in mind, hope that is successful, and hopefully one day you can have a lot of players and users from Nepal, and we can talk again soon. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay safe. Bye.
Thanks for having me, and we will try to work on Nepalese football in our database too.
Thank you so much.